Lake Argyle is one of the largest man-made reservoirs of fresh water in the world. It's so big that it can be seen from space. Situated in the East Kimberley region of Australia, an area the size of Great Britain, Lake Argyle holds 25 times the volume of Sydney Harbour. In the late 1800s, pioneering cattle station owners, the Duracks, made their fortune conquering this wilderness, but then gave it all back to drought and an unforgiving environment. This land has always challenged the inhabitants. That is until 1961, when the mighty Ord River was dammed for farming, creating Lake Argyle. In June 2006, a challenge of a totally different nature began when 6 of us from Balmoral Beach Club in Sydney took the plunge and tested ourselves by swimming the length of Lake Argyle. A 61-kilometre swim through unbelievable landscapes. This swim is in memory of the famous pioneer Patsy Durack, who drove cattle across the top end of Australia and settled here in the late 1880s. By swimming the length of Lake Argyle, we've also raised $100,000 for the Royal Flying Doctor Service.
Yay! Well done, Bobby!
You might ask, what makes 6 city slickers come to one of Australia's most remote regions and swim the length of one of our longest lakes? It's a tremendous challenge, twice the distance of the English Channel. This is an exercise in the Australian landscape, in immersing yourself in the Australian landscape. I can't understand why Australians, who are good swimmers, when they want a really iconic sort of challenge, go and swim either the English Channel or they swim the Maui Channel in Hawaii. This is twice the distance of the English Channel. It's warm water, it's clean. Why not do it?
Swimming I've done ever since I was 2 years old, and my grandfather took me down the pool and threw me in, and that was it. It was a rough way to learn, but it was a good way to learn.
Like any other normal Australian kid, I just loved the water, so we got into swimming and water polo and surfing and the Cottesloe Surf Life-Saving Club.
I grew up in an environment where we were always encouraged to get out and do different things and to challenge ourselves. As a young kid, we used to get out of bed at 4:30 every morning and go swimming.
I spent most of my younger years either in or on or under the water, so I'm pretty comfortable with the water. I'm not a particularly fast swimmer, but one of the things that I'm really enjoying is improving my swimming ability and improving my style and the speed.
I got into swimming because I broke my neck in a horse riding fall about 8 years ago, and I was told I'd never swim or horse ride again. So this is therapy for me, and I guess an attempt to prove the doctors wrong.
I turned to 69 this year. If I hadn't embarked on this sort of physical exercise program, I'm sure I would not be as fit as I am today. And I didn't take up long distance swimming until about 1997, I suppose. So I saw a sign on one of the beaches that said, "Dare to have a go." And I contemplated that challenge for a while, and I thought, well, yeah, I will have a go. And I did, and I loved it.
I mean, the lake is just quite extraordinary. I think it's beyond whatever we imagined it would be. The size and the water, and it's interesting you can have a swim and a drink at the same time, so which we're not used to either. We always swim in salt water.
Just the freshwater environment is terrific to swim in. We all thought it might be a little bit of a struggle, the difference between salt and freshwater swimming. Salt water is always, in theory, better to swim in, but I don't think any of us really noticed any real difference there.
Generally, your buoyancy is a lot less, and you have to work your feet a lot harder just to keep your body floating.
We've never, I don't think any of us attempted anything this long. Again, you don't know what to expect. You sort of think, well, you know, how far 60 kilometres? I mean, it's a map, you've got no idea, and you've got no idea of scale. I mean, you do your leg and you hop out and you feel like you've gone nowhere.
It's challenging. When you get out to Lake Argyle, there's some parts of it that are so wide you can't even see the other end. It's like actually swimming in a big, broad, flat ocean in that sense.
Oh, that was 2 Weet-Bix and a cup of tea. Oh.
You're a bit tired and you're pushing it all the time, try to get a reasonable time. Each swimmer has to get back in the water and swim every hour and a quarter. We do that for 8 hours a day for 2 days, and then again for half a day today.
I had no idea how big this water was. I mean, we swim the harbour a lot, and we do a lot of races around 11, 12 k's, but 11 and 12 k's is half a day here.
Tremendous feeling of space, that knowing that there's nobody else probably in this 1,000 square kilometres of water that is actually swimming.
When people asked us, you know, you're going to swim with crocodiles, it's one of those things in swimming. We spend a lot of time swimming in the ocean where clearly there's a lot of sharks and probably just as much chance of getting in trouble as there is with crocodiles. And I suppose one of the fortunate things is when you swim, you put that stuff out of your mind, because if you thought about it too much, you probably wouldn't do it, or you wouldn't enjoy doing it. And while we did see, you know, crocodiles as we were going along, there was something about being close to a boat and close to a cage which definitely helped satisfy some of my nerves that I had.
They're steering clear of us. We're all old and not much worth chewing on us, but we hope there's no salties. But we actually found the cage pretty good. Not for the crocs, we really don't need it for that, but it's pretty good to get direction and pace.
During Andrew's first leg of his swim, he found it was so turbulent in the cage today. We'd picked up so much weed and debris around the cage that it was like swimming in a washing machine. So he pretty quickly said, I think I want to get out, and he just hopped over the edge and started swimming next to the cage, and then we all decided that was a good thing to do.
As we did our changeover, a crocodile of about 5.5 foot slid into the water while we're also in very shallow water, so it was quite an eerie experience.
This is by far the biggest swimming challenge or sporting challenge I've ever done. I mean, I've played a lot of rugby in my life, and they were different. It was you were more confident because you knew what to expect. You'd grown up with it, but we've just never grown up with anything like this. And well, I've never seen anything quite like this in my life. And this morning there's the sun coming up, and then you can see the sunset at night. I mean, you can do that on islands and, you know, up in Indonesia and places like that, but you can't here. And it's just the remoteness. I just can't believe there aren't more people here, and more people coming to have a look. You know, probably one of the best kept secrets.
The most impressionable part was as we sat at our campsite over the last 3 days, and you look out at the vista and the most incredible sunsets and the colours reflecting off the mountains, and the differences in the blues and the orange and the greens. It is a vista that will stay with me for a long time.
As the day progresses, the sun strikes the water at different angles, and in the afternoons the lake smooths right off, and it looks like velvet to swim across. I've never swum across anything that smooth in my life, and it's a very unique swimming experience.
I'd certainly recommend swimming, not necessarily long distance swimming, but any sort of swimming that people can cope with as they get older. It's a wonderful sport. It's a low impact sport, and you can't damage too much.
5, up you go. Later in the afternoon, as the sun was setting, and to see him getting in the water for the 6th time, you know, it was an absolute inspiration of, you know, ordinary people getting out and doing extraordinary things. It becomes very lonely standing on top of the mountain if you're standing there by yourself. And, you know, our mountain was to swim across Lake Argyle, which, you know, is an enormous mass of water. And it's the element of teams and camaraderie that you develop as a group of people doing something fairly challenging that really defines an experience. It's, you know, going to be something life-forming for all of us, and out of that you build very strong friendship with people that otherwise you probably wouldn't have had the chance to do.
We've set a record for swimming across Lake Argyle. It may not be a record that stands for very long, but there it is. It'll be on the statute books, and it's now up for someone to knock us off, I suppose.